The first thing you become aware of isn't a sound, but a feeling. It's the gritty, dry taste of dust in your mouth, caked onto your tongue. Your head throbs with a dull, persistent tick, a rhythm of pain that seems to match the relentless sun beating down on your eyelids. You try to lift a hand to shield your face, but it won't move. A clinking sound answers your effort. You force your eyes open, the sudden light a white-hot shark. You're lying on your side in the dirt, bound at the wrists and ankles with coarse rope. Around you, the chaos of a battle's aftermath is settling into a grim, organized quiet. Just yesterday, you were a soldier. You had a name, a rank, friends fighting beside you for a cause you vaguely understood. You were defending your homeland, a small tribal kingdom on the northern frontier that Rome, in its insatiable hunger, had decided it wanted. Now, that life is a ghost. Your shield is splintered somewhere in this field. Your sword lost. Your friends, you don't let your mind linger there. A Roman legionary, his armor gleaming with an almost offensive polish, nudges you with a sandal at foot. He shouts something in his harsh, clipped Latin. You don't understand the words, but the meaning is clear. Get up. You struggle to your feet, muscles screaming in protest. You are now part of a long, shuffling line of men who look just like you, defeated, dazed, and stripped of everything but their own weary bodies. You are a prisoner of war, a captor vios. This is a well-known path to the arena, while some men in the sands are condemned criminals, and others, in a twist that historians still debate the prevalence of, are free men desperate enough to volunteer for a life of combat. The vast majority start just like this. You are the human spoils of a successful military campaign. The march begins. It's a blur of sun-drenched days and cold, sleepless nights. You are chained to the man in front of you and the man behind you. A human centipede of misery. The food is barely enough to keep you alive. Stale bread, a handful of olives, and water that tastes of the goat skin it's carried in. You learn quickly that any sign of defiance, any moment of hesitation, is met with the flat of a blade or the sting of a whip. You are no longer a person. You are cargo, a very specific kind of cargo. Actually, here's a strange little detail of Roman logistics. You are war booty, a walking, breathing part of the profit margin for the victorious general. He will sell you, along with the captured livestock and gold, to the highest bidder. As you trudge south, deeper into the heart of the empire, you see the world changing. The forests and open plains of your homeland give way to paved roads, bustling towns, and sprawling vineyards. Everything feels alien, oversized, and permanent. It's a psychological blow as much as a physical one. This empire isn't just an army. It's a world-eating machine, and you are now caught in its gears. One evening, as you're given your meager rations, you notice a merchant in a fine toga speaking with the Roman officer in charge. The merchant, a man with soft hands and a cruel, calculating gaze, walks along your line. He stops, forces your mouth open to inspect your teeth, grips your arms to feel the muscle. HES not looking at a man, HES assessing livestock, and in his eyes, you see not a flicker of pity, only the cold, hard glint of a business transaction. Your luck has not just run out, it has been sold to the lowest denominator of human existence, where your only remaining value will be found in the manner of your death. The long march eventually ends, but your relief is swallowed by a new kind of dread. You are herded into a bustling city, a place so loud and crowded, it feels like the whole world has been compressed into a few square miles of stone and humanity. The air is thick with unfamiliar smells, roasting meat, fragrant spices, overflowing sewers, and the cloying scent of cheap perfume. For a man who has known only forests and fields, it's an assault on the senses. You are pushed through a set of imposing gates into a large, open square. This is a slave market. There's a chillingly mundane order to the proceedings. It's not a chaotic mob, but a well-oiled machine of human commerce. Slaves are arranged on raised wooden platforms, sorted by their potential use. Over there, a group of women and children destined for domestic service. In another corner, strong but broken-looking men, their bodies scarred from whips, are being sold for hard labor in the mines or on a lottie fund IUN, one of the vast agricultural estates. And then there is your section. You and the other survivors of your campaign are set apart. You are prime cuts. A wooden plaque, a titulus, is hung around your neck. It's rough against your skin, in stark black letters. It lists your essential details for any potential buyer. Your tribe, your approximate age, and any special skills. Yours is brutally simple. It probably reads something like GERMAN, Arshul, STRONG, UNSKILED. You are a blank slate of violence, and that is precisely what some buyers are looking for. You are stripped down, leaving you exposed under the indifferent gaze of the crowd. It's a calculated act of dehumanization, making it easier for people to see you as an object, a piece of merchandise. The merchant who bought you from the army now circles you like a vulture. He pokes your scars, not with sympathy, but to see if they hide an old, debilitating injury. He makes you jump, squat, lift a heavy stone urn, all to demonstrate your physical soundness. He pries your mouth open again, checking your teeth for signs of disease or malnutrition, the same way a man would inspect a horse before purchase. This practice was so common it became a legal point. Sellers had to disclose hidden defects, just as if they were selling a faulty chariot. Then, a new figure approaches your platform. He is not dressed like the wealthy senators in their immaculate white dugas. This man wears practical, expensive leather, and he moves with a coiled energy, an air of authority that is more predatory than political. He is flanked by two massive, scar-faced bodyguards who look at you and the other prisoners with a professional, dead-eyed calm. This is Alanis Tay, the owner, manager, and chief disciplinarian of a gladiator school, a ludus. He is a talent scout for the arena. He doesn't waste time. He dismisses the merchant with a wave of his hand and begins his own inspection. His eyes are different. They don't just see muscle. They see potential for specific forms of combat. He looks at your height, the length of your arms, the width of your shoulders. He is already slotting you into a category. Are you big and powerful? A future Sekador? Or are you quick and agile? Perhaps a ruddy Arias in the making. He might order you to feign a lunge, to swing your arms, watching your balance and speed. He is visualizing you not as a man, but as a component in a bloody spectacle. He.S. imagining you in armor, a sword in your hand, with a roaring crowd baying for your blood. The haggling begins. The Laniste and the slave merchant engage in a rapid, low-toned exchange. You don't understand the Latin, but you recognize the universal language of negotiation. The feigned outrage, the dismissive gestures, the slow, reluctant nods. They are bartering over your life, the exact price of a prime. Untrained captive like yourself is a topic historians still debate. Was it 2 Zoroastrians, maybe as high as 6 Zaro for a man with your physique? It was a significant sum, perhaps enough to purchase a small farm or a few dozen head of cattle. Your worth, in this moment, is a number calculated on the probability of how many fights you might survive and how entertainingly you might die. Finally, a deal is struck. A small, heavy bag of coins is tossed from the lawn estate to the merchant. The transaction is almost complete. One of the launists has men approaches you, holding a long iron rod with a wooden handle. The end of it glows a faint red. Before you can process what is happening, he presses the hot metal into the flesh of your shoulder. The pain is searing, instantaneous, and absolute. The smell of your own burning skin fills the air. It's a brand, the mark of ownership. You are no longer just a prisoner of war. You are no longer just a slave. You are now, officially and irrevocably, the property of the ludus. You belong to the Laniste, body and soul. As your roughly pulled off the platform, the stinging agony in your shoulder is a permanent reminder of this day. The day you became a thing with a price tag. Your new owner, the Laniste, doesn't waste any time. You and a handful of other newly purchased men are chained together and marched through the city's streets. The looks you receive from passers-by are a mixture of fear, pity, and a morbid, excited curiosity. You are a pariah, a living embodiment of death, and yet you are also on your way to becoming a dark celebrity. The paradox is unsettling. The Laniste leads you away from the grand marble temples and public forms. into a grittier, more functional part of the city. The buildings become less ornate, the streets narrower. Finally, you stop before a towering, windowless wall of stone. A single, massive gate, reinforced with iron bands and studs, is the only entrance. This isn't a school in any sense you would understand. It's a fortress. It's a maximum security prison. This is the ludus. The gate groans open, and you are shoved inside. The moment it slams shut behind you, the sound echoes with a dreadful finality. The world you knew is gone forever. You are now inside the belly of the beast. The first thing that hits you is the smell, a potent cocktail of sweat, sawdust, stale food, and the metallic tang of dried blood. The air is thick with the sounds of exertion, the grunts of men, the rhythmic clash of wooden training swords, the sharp crack of a whip, and the shouted commands of trainers. The ludus is built around a central courtyard, a miniature practice arena with a sandy floor. Surrounding this yard are the structures that will define your entire existence. There's the armory, the kitchen, and infirmary, and rows of small, barred cells. The entire complex is designed for control and containment. There are no easy escape routes. Guards, armed and looking just as grim as the lawnist as bodyguards, are posted at key points. They watch your every move with an unnerving, professional stillness. The lawnist gathers his new recruits in the center of the yard. The other gladiators, grizzled veterans and younger men with wary eyes, stop their training to watch you. They look you over, sizing you up. It's not a welcoming gaze. They see fresh meat, potential rivals, and men who are almost certainly doomed. Your owner begins a speech. He speaks slowly, deliberately, as if explaining rules to a particularly dim-witted child. His tone is devoid of emotion, a flat declaration of facts. "Welcome to my family," he says, and the word familiar sounds like a cruel joke. He explains that this is your new home, your new world. He is your dominus, your master. His word is law. Disobedience will be met with the whip. Attempting to escape will be met with execution. He lays out the brutal bargain. You are his investment. He will feed you, house you, and train you. He will turn you from a clumsy barbarian into a skilled, killing machine. In return, you will fight for him in the arena. If you fight well, you will bring him glory and, more importantly, a great deal of money. If you survive long enough, he says, gesturing vaguely, there is a chance, a slim, almost impossible chance, of winning your freedom. It's a carefully calibrated speech, designed to crush your will while leaving just enough of a sliver of hope to prevent you from succumbing to utter despair. Despair makes for a poor fighter, and poor fighters are a bad investment. This is the core of the launista's profession. He was a deeply reviled figure in Roman society, even as people flocked to see his gladiators fight. The launista himself was considered an infames, a person of low repute, on par with actors and pimps. They were seen as merchants of death, profiting from human misery. Yet, they were a necessary evil in the machinery of public entertainment. Some historians argue that the launista's social standing was a complex issue. As a particularly successful, one could amass enormous wealth and influence, creating a strange tension between social scorn and financial power. After his speech, the launista dismisses you. You are handed over to one of the trainers, a man whose face is a roadmap of old scars. He leads you away from the central yard, towards a block of cells. This is not just a school. It is a business, and you are its primary product. The launista doesn't care about your past, your fears, or your name. He only cares about your future performance on the sand. He has purchased your body, and he will now mold it into a weapon for his own profit. As you are pushed towards your new home, you realize the cold, hard truth of your situation. You haven't been enrolled in a school. You've been consigned to a factory that produces only one thing: spectacular, profitable death. And your own is now on the production schedule. The trainer, a hulking ex-gladiator named Marcus with a limp and one clouded eye, shoves you toward a line of dark doorways. He points to one. In there, the Latin is guttural, a command not to be questioned. You duck your head and step into your new home. It's less a room and more of a stone box. The cell is tiny, perhaps only twice your body length, in one direction and barely wide enough to stretch out your arms. A thin stone slab, raised slightly off the floor, serves as a bed. There is no window, only a small, barred grate high up in the door that lets in a sliver of light from the main yard and, more importantly, allows the guards to peer in. The air inside is stale and heavy, thick with the smell of unwashed bodies and despair. The stone walls are cool and damp to the touch, weeping a constant, faint moisture. Scratched into the walls are crude drawings and words in languages you'd unrecognize, the final testaments of the men who lived and died in this very spot before you. A name, a depiction of a wolf, a series of lines counting down the days. It's a gallery of ghosts. You are not alone. A figure sits on the far end of the stone slab, his back against the wall. He looks up as you enter, his eyes assessing you in the dim light. He is older than you, maybe in his 30s, with a weary, compact build. His face is a tapestry of healed cuts, and a long, jagged scar runs from his temple down to his jaw. He doesn't say anything at first, just watches you with a weary, knowing expression. This is your cellmate, and the ludus. Privacy is a forgotten luxury. Gladiators were often housed to a cell, a practical measure of space, saving that also served as a subtle form of psychological control. You could never truly be alone with your thoughts, your fear, or your sorrow. There was always someone else there, a constant reminder of the world you weren't wrapped in. You slide down the wall opposite him, the rough stone scraping your back. The silence stretches on, thick and uncomfortable. Finally, he speaks, his voice a low rasp. "Where from?" he asks, using a pidgin form of Latin, the common tongue of the ludus where men from all corners of the empire were thrown together. You tell him the name of your tribe. He just nods slowly, as if he has heard a dozen similar stories. "Go," he says, pointing to his own chest. "Been here 5 years. 5 years." The number hangs in the air, seeming like an impossible eternity. He must be one of the veterans, the survivors. He introduces himself as CRXs, a common name for a Gaul. You tell him yours, the name your parents gave you, but he shakes his head. "That name is gone," he says, not unkindly. "The Laniste will give you a new one, something that sounds good to the crowds. Ajax, Spartacus, something heroic. It's part of the show. The idea that even your name will be stripped from you is another small, sharp cut." He begins to explain the unwritten rules of this place, the brutal etiquette of survival. Don't show weakness to the trainers. Don't hoard your food. Don't trust the Lannister's promises. And most importantly, he tells you, don't get too close to anyone. He says it while looking you directly in the eyes. A stark warning. The man you eat with today, you might have to kill tomorrow. It's easier if you don't know the name of his wife. You learn that your fellow prisoners are a disparate collection of humanity. There are other prisoners of war like you, Dacianels, Thracians, Britons. There are condemned criminals sent to the ludus to serve out their death sentence in a more entertaining fashion. And, most surprisingly, there are a few octoradii, free men who voluntarily signed a contract with the Laniste. This is one of the more bizarre aspects of the gladiator world. These men, often buried in debt or former soldiers seeking a thrill, would willingly sign away their freedom for a set period in exchange for a signing bonus and the chance at fame. Historians still debate the mindset of these volunteers. Was it an act of ultimate desperation? Or was there a genuine subculture that glorified the arena's brutal celebrity? Your cellmate, CRXs, seems to hold a particular contempt for the volunteers. They chose this, he mutters, gesturing vaguely towards the yard. They don't understand what it is to have no choice at all. As dusk falls, a guard brings your first meal in the ludus. It's a wooden bowl filled with a thick, lukewarm porridge. A piece of coarse, dark bread sits on top. There is no spoon. You eat with your hands, just like CRXs, scooping the bland, gritty mush into your mouth. It's sustenance, nothing more. As you eat, the sounds of the ludus change. The clanging of weapons subsides, replaced by the low murmur of conversations, the occasional shout of a guard, and the clanging of cell doors being locked for the night. The finality of that sound is the only lullaby you will get. You lie down on the cold stone, your brain throbbing, your stomach full of barley, and listen to the quiet breathing of the stranger across from you, a man who might one day be your friend, your teacher, or your final opponent. The days that follow are a brutal, monotonous rhythm of orientation and intimidation. You are not yet training, not in the formal sense. This is a period of breaking you in, of systematically dismantling your old identity to make way for the new one. The gladiator. It's a psychological unmaking, and it culminates in a formal, chilling ceremony. One morning, you and the other new arrivals are herded out into the center of the practice yard. The lawnist is there, standing on a small wooden platform. Beside him is a man in a magistrate's toga, holding a wax tablet in the stylus. The air is still and heavy. Even the veteran gladiators watch from the sidelines with a somber quiet. This is a ritual every single one of them has gone through. The lawnist begins to speak, his voice echoing slightly in the enclosed space. He explains that to become a gladiator, you must be bound by a sacred oath, the Sacramentum Gladiatium. This is more than just a pledge of allegiance. It is a legally binding contract that redefines your existence in the eyes of Roman law. By taking this oath, you willingly surrender your rights as a human being. This legal fiction is one of the most fascinating, unperverse aspects of the system. While you are already a slave, a piece of property, this oath adds another layer. It's a formal consent to your own potential destruction. For the octoradii, the free volunteers, this oath is what legally transforms them from citizens into something else entirely, something both celebrated and reviled. They trade their civil rights for a contract, essentially becoming willing slaves for a fixed term. The magistrate steps forward. He begins to call you up, one by one. The lawnist gives you your new name. He looks at you, your tall frame, your northern features, and declares, you will be known as VULF, Wood. It's simple, brutal, and memorable. It will sound good when the herald shouts it across the sands of the arena. Your old name, the one whispered by your mother, is now just a memory. When it's your turn, you step before the magistrate. He unrolls a small scroll and reads the words of the oath in a clear, detached voice. He speaks in formal Latin, but the meaning is made brutally clear by the trainers beforehand. You are to repeat the words after him. Yuri, vincieri, verbera ori, ferro q necari. The phrase settles in your mind, cold and heavy as a stone. I will endure to be burned, to be bound, to be beaten, and to be killed by the sword. You repeat the words. Your voice feels alien in your own throat. You are swearing to accept any punishment the lawnist deems necessary. Burning, for insubordination. Binding, your constant state of being. Beating, the daily currency of discipline. In the final, chilling part, to be killed by the sword. You are formally agreeing to your own potential execution in the arena, accepting it not as a tragedy, but as a contractual obligation. There is a deep, dark brilliance to this oath. It serves multiple purposes. Legally, it indemnifies the lawnist. If you die in the arena, he has not murdered you. You have simply fulfilled your sworn duty. Psychologically, it's a tool of submission. By making you speak these words, you become an active participant in your own subjugation. You are internalizing the rules of this new world, accepting the absolute power the lawnist holds over your life and death. The exact wording of the oath is recorded by the historian Petronius, though some modern scholars debate whether this was universal, standardized text or if it varied from ludus to ludus. The core sentiment, however, the complete surrender of bodily autonomy, is undisputed. As you finish reciting the oath, the magistrate makes a mark on his wax tablet. It is done. You have been legally reborn. You are no longer a German prisoner of war named whatever you were called. You are VULF, a gladiator, a man who has sworn to die for the entertainment of others. The lawnist dismisses the magistrate with a nod. The ceremony is over. The atmosphere in the yard immediately shifts back to its normal, brutal state. A trainer barks in order, and the veterans resume their practice swings. The moment of grim ceremony has passed. and the reality it consecrated now begins in earnest. You are shoved back into line with the other new gladiators. You catch the eye of your Selma, CRXs. He gives you a short, almost imperceptible nod. It's not a gesture of congratulations, but of acknowledgement. You have crossed the threshold. You are one of them now, fully and irrevocably. The strange, unspoken bond of the condemned settles over you. Later, someone will tell you a bit of gallows humor, a weird fact that floats around the ludi. Once you take the oath, you are technically forbidden from taking your own life. Your life is no longer yours to take. It belongs to the law Niste as a financial asset. To kill yourself is to damage his property, an offense punishable by, well, the irony is lost on no one. You have sworn to be killed, but only in the way your master dictates. Now that you have sworn the oath, the true work begins. The period of psychological breaking is over. The physical remaking is about to start. The morning after the sacramentum, you are woken before dawn by the harsh clang of a bell. There is no gentle rousing in the ludus. You are herded out into the yard. The air is still cool and gray. Your first day of training has begun, and it is designed to be a shock to your system. The head trainer, the one-eyed veteran Marcus, stands before you and the other novices. He doesn't waste time on speeches. He points to a row of wooden stakes driven into the ground in the center of the yard. Each stake, known as a palace, is about 6 feet tall, roughly the height of a man. This will be your primary training partner. You are handed your first pieces of equipment. They are not the gleaming steel tools of the arena. Instead, you get a wooden sword, the rudis, and a wicker shield. The sword is heavy, deliberately made to be twice the weight of a real gladius. The theory is simple and brutal. If you can't train all day with this cumbersome piece of wood, a real sword will feel as light as a feather in your hand. The shield is also heavier than its arena counterpart. Your first lesson is not about fancy moves or killing blows. It's about posture, footwork, and endless, repetitive drills. Stance. Marcus roars. He demonstrates. Feet apart, knees bent, shield up, sword held back. It's a low, coiled posture designed for stability and power. You and the others awkwardly try to mimic it. He walks down the line, correcting you with a sharp rap of his training staff across your calves or back. Lower. Bend your knees. You stand like a farmer, not a fighter. The entire morning is spent practicing one thing, the basic strike. You stand before your palace. On Marcus's command, you lunge and strike. Not a wild, swinging slash, but a precise, economical thrust. The crowd hates a hacker. Marcus growls. You slash a man. You cut his muscle. It's messy. You thrust. He demonstrates on a nearby stake, the wooden sword hitting the wood with a solid thud. And you find the heart, the lungs. A clean kill. That's what they pay to see. The training is relentless and unforgiving. By midday, your arm feels like lead. Your shoulder aches from the weight of the shield, and your legs burn from holding the low stance. Sweat streams into your eyes, stinging. Any sign of fatigue, any sloppy movement, is met with a harsh word or a blow. This isn't just about teaching you to fight. It's about instilling absolute discipline and pushing you past your perceived limits. You are being forged, and the process is painful. This methodology, training with oversized equipment against a stationary target, was the core of Roman military training as well. The gladiator schools adopted and perfected it for their own bloody purposes. The focus on the thrust over the slash was a hallmark of the Roman fighting style, proven effective on countless battlefields. In the arena, it had the added benefit of being more lethal and, paradoxically, less graphically messy than a wild, hacking attack, which appealed to a certain Roman sense of martial efficiency. In the afternoon, the training shifts. You are paired up with another novice. The goal is not to injure each other. You are valuable property, after all, but to practice defense and timing. Your wicker shield becomes your best friend. You learn to absorb the impact of a blow, to deflect a strike, to use the shield's edge as a weapon itself. The sound of dozens of wooden swords clattering against wicker shields fills the yard. Here, you begin to see the different aptitudes of the men around you. One man is surprisingly quick, his movements fluid. Another is clumsy but immensely strong. his blows landing with heavy, crushing force. The trainers watch this closely. They are assessing your natural abilities, refining their plan for what type of gladiator you will become. A fascinating and somewhat debated aspect of the training is the role of the doctoress, the specialist trainers. These were often retired gladiators who had excelled in a particular style of fighting. There was a Dr. T.A. Trey come for the Thracian style, a Dr. Seku to Rum for the Sekedor style, and so on. Historians believe that after this initial period of basic training, a novice would be assigned to one of these specialists to learn the specific techniques of his assigned combat class. Your performance in these early days is essentially an audition. As the sun begins to set, the training finally ends. You are dismissed, your body screaming with 1,000 new aches. You stumble back to your cell, every muscle trembling with exhaustion. You feel more like a battered piece of meat than a warrior. Your cellmate, C. or Ixus, is already there, cleaning a piece of his own equipment. He looks at your exhausted state and gives a grim, almost imperceptible smile. The first day is always the worst, he says, though his tone suggests that the second day isn't much better. They have to break your spirit before they can build you up. You collapse onto the stone slab, too tired to even eat the barley mush that a guard shoves through the door. You have been systematically deconstructed and are now being rebuilt, piece by painful piece, into something you don't even recognize. You are no longer VULF the barbarian. You are VULF the trainee, a raw material being hammered into the shape of a gladiator. The grueling physical training is only one part of your transformation. The other is a carefully controlled regimen that dictates the very fuel you put into your body. After a few days of tortuous exercise, you begin to notice something about the food. It never changes, morning and night. It's the same wooden bowl filled with the same thick, grayish porridge. Sometimes there are beans mixed in, sometimes not. It's accompanied by the same dense, coarse bread. This is the infamous gladiator diet. You sit in your cell, forcing down another mouthful of the bland, gritty mush. It fills your stomach, but it provides no pleasure, no satisfaction. It's simply fuel, and a very specific kind of fuel. Your cellmate, C.R. Ixus, eats his with a practiced indifference. He sees the disgust on your face. Get used to it. Rush, he rests. This is what makes us strong. Strong, perhaps, but also soft. The diet is overwhelmingly vegetarian and incredibly high in carbohydrates. Barley is the staple, the core ingredient of the daily slop. This has led modern archaeologists and historians to nickname gladiators Hordari, which literally means barley man. It's a moniker rooted in ancient texts. Pliny the Elder himself refers to gladiators by this name. The purpose of this diet is a subject of much discussion, but the prevailing theory is as grimly practical as everything else in the ludus. The high-carb, low-quality vegetarian diet was designed to do two things. First, it was cheap. Feeding a ludus full of large, active men was expensive, and barley was far more economical than meat or high-quality grains. The honest was, however, a businessman, and he would cut costs wherever he could. But the second reason is more sinister and speaks directly to the nature of gladiatorial combat. The carb-heavy diet helped gladiators pack on a layer of subcutaneous fat over their muscles. This washed about making you look plump. It was a form of built-in biological armor. In the arena, a shallow cut on a lean, ripped fighter might immediately hit a nerve or a major blood vessel, ending the fight too quickly. But a cut on a barley man would slice through the layer of fat first. This produced more bleeding, which looked spectacular to the crowd, without necessarily being a fight-ending or life-threatening injury. It protected the crucial muscles and nerves underneath, allowing the fight to be prolonged, making it more dramatic, more suspenseful, and ultimately, a better show. You were being fattened up not for slaughter, but for a more drawn-out, bloodier performance before the eventual slaughter. This theory is supported by modern science. Chemical analysis of bones found in the gladiators' cemetery in Ephesus, Turkey, has shown extremely high levels of strontium and very high levels of calcium, consistent with a diet overwhelmingly based on plants and grains. The Romans may not have understood the specific chemistry, but they knew the results. This diet, however, came with a cost. A diet so high in carbs and low in calcium would have led to poor bone density. To counteract this, gladiators were given a foul-tasting drink, a kind of nutritional supplement that was probably a brew made from charred wood or bone ash, which is very high in calcium. You see older gladiators drinking this strange, cloudy liquid after training, and you soon learn to drink it too, choking down the unpleasant concoction to help your bones knit and strengthen. It's a piece of surprisingly sophisticated sports science, born from brutal necessity. The existence of this calcium supplement is one of those wonderfully weird, niche facts that brings the daily reality of the ludus to life. Mentally, the diet is another to love control. The monotony is soul-crushing. You dream of the taste of roasted meat, of fresh fruit, of the simple, savory stews of your homeland. Here, there is only barley. The denial of this basic human pleasure is another way to break you down, to remind you that your body is not your own. It is a machine, and the honest day provides only the specific, cheap fuel required for it to function according to his needs. One evening, a rumor spreads through the cells. A wealthy politician is sponsoring the next games, and as a gesture of magnanimity and a good PR move, he has sent a gift to the ludus, several roasted pigs. The excitement is palpable, a current of electricity running through the grim barracks. That night, for the first time, you are given a portion of greasy, succulent, roasted pork alongside your usual barley slop. The taste is explosive, a forgotten symphony on your tongue. For a few brief moments, you feel human again. The men eat in a rare, joyous silence, savoring every last morsel. But the next morning, it's back to the barley. The memory of the meat makes the porridge taste even worse, the deprivation even sharper. The gift was not an act of kindness. It was a reminder of what you don't have, another thread in the complex tapestry of psychological control that governs your life. You are a barley man, and you are being built for the sand, one gland, fattening meal at a time, as your body slowly and painfully adapts to the training, and your palate grows numb to the taste of barley. The next phase of your transformation begins. It's no longer enough to be strong and disciplined. You must be shaped for a specific role. The ludus is not creating a single, generic type of fighter. It is producing a cast of characters for a deadly play, and you don't get to choose your part. One afternoon, the head trainer, Marcus, pulls you and the other novices out of the general training group. He has you stand in a line, while he and the other doctoress walk back and forth, scrutinizing you. It feels exactly like the slave market all over again. But this time, they are not assessing your value, but your function. They are casting you. The honesty is there, too, watching from the side with a calculating eye. The choice of which gladiatorial type, or armatura, you will be trained as is a critical business decision. It's a complex calculation based on your natural physique, your aptitude shown in training, and what the market demands. A well-balanced ludus needed a variety of types to be able to put on interesting and popular matchups. You watch as the man next to you, a short, incredibly fast fighter, is pulled aside. He is handed a net, a trident, and a dagger. He is to become a ready Arias. The fisherman, he will fight with minimal armor, relying on speed and skill to ensnare and finish his opponent. It's a crowd-pleasing but incredibly vulnerable role. Another man, a giant of a Gaul with immense upper body strength, is given a large, rectangular shield Scotoman de Gladius. He is destined to be a Secator, the chaser, whose entire purpose is to hunt down the ready Arias. His helmet is smooth and round, with only two small eye holes, designed to prevent it from being snagged by the net. The two men, who have trained and eaten together for weeks, now look at each other with a new, chilling understanding. They are now two halves of a classic, deadly pairing. Then, Marcus stops in front of you. He circles you, his one good eye taking in your heightened solid build. You are not as massive as the new Secator, but you are taller and have a longer reach than many of the others. THRAX, he says, with a decisive nod. You will be a Thracian. A trainer brings you the equipment. The shield is small and square, the parmula, offering far less protection than the secutor's massive scudum. This means you will have to be more agile, constantly moving. Your weapon is the most distinctive part of your new identity, a short sword with a curved, angled blade, like a bird of prey's beak. It's called the Sika. It's a weapon designed not for thrusting, but for hooking and slashing around the edge of an opponent's shield. You are being trained to be an aggressive, relentless attacker. Your helmet will be ornate, with a wide-brimmed crest, often topped with a griffin, a classic Thracian symbol. Being assigned a style is like being given a new skin. From this day forward, you will train exclusively with this equipment, under the tutelage of the Dr. Th. Raycom. Your old general training is over. You must now master a completely new way of moving, fighting, and thinking. The small shield feels terribly inadequate at first. You are used to hiding behind the large wicker practice shield. Now, you must learn to rely on footwork and aggression to survive. The rationale behind these specific pairings is a key part of the spectacle's appeal. The Romans loved asymmetrical combat. A fight between two identically armed gladiators was considered dull. The real excitement came from pitting different strengths and weaknesses against each other. The classic matchup of the nimble, net-wielding Radiarius against the heavily armed, but slower Secutor is the perfect example. It's a contest of speed versus power, evasion versus pursuit. Who would the crowd cheer for? The answer to that question, historians still debate. Was there a consistent underdog favorite, or did allegiance shift based on the skill and charisma of the individual fighters? There's a strange, almost theatrical element to it all. The THRAX and his common opponent, the Amurmilla, were often styled as mythological or historical enemies. Ural, the Thracian, are an echo of the fierce tribes from the east. The Amurmilla, with his fish-crested helmet, was sometimes associated with the sea. The arena becomes a stage where these archetypes clash. This specialization is absolute. You will live, eat, and breathe the Thracian style. You spend hours practicing the specific hooking motion of the Sika, learning how to use its curve to bypass an opponent's defense. You drill footwork patterns designed to maximize your aggressive potential, while minimizing the exposure from your small shield. It's a deadly science. A weird, niche detail of this specialization is that some gladiators became so identified with their armatura that they had it tattooed on their bodies. Archaeologists have found evidence suggesting some fighters had images of trident tests or specific helmets synced into their skin, a permanent mark of their deadly profession. As you begin your specialized training, the ludus feels different. The general pool of novices has been broken up into small, more defined groups. A new set of rivalries and alliances begins to form. You are now part of the Thracian clique. You train with them, you eat with them, you share tips and strategies. But you all know the chilling reality. The man teaching you a defensive move today could be the same Amurmilla you face on the sands tomorrow, trying to kill you with the very technique GS now perfecting. The specialization doesn't just give you a role. It pre-selects your potential dance partner in a waltz of death. With your fighting style assigned, the social landscape of the ludus becomes clearer and more perilous. You quickly learn that this prison has its own complex and brutal hierarchy, a pecking order written in scars and survival. You, as a Tiro, a novice, are at the absolute bottom. You feel it every day. The veterans, the seasoned gladiators who have survived multiple fights, get the best spots by the fire on cold nights. They get their food first. They get a subtle, almost imperceptible deference from the trainers. They have earned their status with their blood, and they command a grudging respect from everyone, including the law honest himself. These men are the proven assets, the reliable earners. At the top of this pyramid are the Primus Palace Gladiators. The term literally means first stake, referring to the top-ranked fighter in the ludus, the one who trains on the first palace. He is the champion, the star of the school. He might have his own, slightly larger cell, better rations, and even certain privileges. He is both an inspiration and a terrifying benchmark for everyone else. When he trains, the novices watch in silent awe. His movements are fluid, economical, and deadly. He is what you are supposed to become. And the odds of you reaching his level are astronomically low, below the Primus Palace or the other veterans. The veteran eye. They are the grizzled survivors. Men like your Salmatsi are anxious. They are a clannish, wary group. They don't waste their energy on bravado. They are quiet, efficient, and they carry an aura of profound weariness. They have seen too many friends die, suffered too many wounds. They are the backbone of the ludus. They offer advice sparingly, and when they do, you listen. Their survival is proof that their words have weight. Then there are the men in the middle, gladiators who have survived 1 or 2 fights, but have not yet achieved the status of a veteran. They are a tense, volatile group. They have tasted the arena and survived, which gives them a swaggering confidence. But they lack the deep-seated calm of the true veterans. Fights often break out among this group over perceived slights, or jostling for position. And then there is you, the Tyrrell, the novices. You are the lowest of the low. You're untested, unproven, and considered utterly expendable. The veterans ignore you. The trainers bully you, and the mid-rankers look at you with a mixture of pity and contempt. You are given the worst chores, the last pick of the training equipment, and the constant, unspoken message that you are not expected to last long. This hierarchy is not just about social status. It's a survival mechanism. By observing the veterans, you learn how to carry yourself, how to avoid attracting unwanted attention, and how to navigate the deadly politics of the school. You learn to read the moods of the trainers, to know when to push yourself and when to fade into the background. A strange and debated aspect of this social structure is the nature of friendship within the ludus. The common trope is that gladiators form deep, brotherly bonds, epitomized by the phrase colleague IA, or burial societies, which they sometimes form to ensure their fallen comrades received a proper burial. Evidence for these societies exists, suggesting a powerful sense of camaraderie. Men who face death together often form intense connections. You might find yourself sharing a quiet conversation with another TH or AX, discussing a fine point of technique, or sharing a joke about the Lannister's stinginess. But this is constantly shadowed by the grim reality C or Ixus warned you about. The ludus is not a brotherhood. It's a holding pen for future opponents. The Lannister A deliberately stokes rivalries. He might praise one novice over another to breed jealousy and aggression. He pairs men from different ethnic groups against each other, playing on old tribal animosities. The very structure of the combat pairings, THRAX versus MURML, Ready Rice versus Seikador, means that your closest friend in your own specialty is safe, but you are being groomed to kill men from another specialty group. The man you share a ration with one day might be the one trying to put a Sika through your gut the next. This creates a constant, gnawing psychological tension. You crave human connection in this brutal place, but you are terrified of its consequences. Every bond is a potential future heartbreak, or worse, a liability in the arena. Will you hesitate for a split second when you face a man you've shared stories with? That hesitation will kill you. So, like the veterans, you learn to build walls. You keep your conversations superficial, your interactions practical. You learn the painful art of being surrounded by people while remaining utterly alone. You see it in the eyes of the veterans, a deep, profound loneliness. They have mastered the art of emotional detachment. It's the only way to survive the crushing weight of their existence. You are on the first step of that painful journey, learning that in the world of the ludus, the only person you can truly rely on is yourself, and the only thing you can be certain of is the painful, precarious nature of your own life. The hierarchy is not just about who is the best fighter. It's about who has best mastered the art of surviving this deeply inhuman environment. Days bleed into weeks, and the ludus, which once felt like a hellish anomaly, starts to feel like the only reality. The outside world fades into a distant memory. Your life shrinks to the dimensions of the yard, the cell, and the ever-present shadow of the Lannister. As you become more attuned to the rhythms of the school, you start to see your owner not just as a cruel master, but as a shrewd and ruthless businessman. The Lannister, whose name you learn as Quintus, is a constant presence. He doesn't get his hands dirty with the training, but he is always watching. He stands on a raised platform overlooking the yard, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. His gaze sweeps over the training gladiators, but HES not watching a group of men. HES reviewing his portfolio of assets. You are his investment, and he manages you with the cold, detached logic of a financier. Every bowl of barley is a calculated expense. Every training session is an investment in your future earning potential. He has spent a significant sum to purchase you, and now he is spending more to feed, house, and train you. He expects a return on that investment, and that return is measured in bludgeoned coin. When a gladiator is rented out for the games, the editor, the sponsor of the event, pays the honest a fee. This fee is based on the gladiator's rank and reputation. A hero, like you, might fetch a modest sum. A veteran star like the Primus Palace could command a fortune for a single appearance. This is the Lanista's primary revenue stream. But here is the grim calculus that governs your life. If you are wounded in the arena, the editor must pay a compensation fee to the Lanista for the damage to his property. And if you are killed, the editor must pay your full purchase price, often at a vastly inflated rate. This is where the Lanista's business model becomes truly macabre. While he wants you to win, as a victorious gladiator's value increases, a good death is also extremely profitable. He profits from your survival, and he profits even more from your demise. You are trapped in a system where your life and your death are both entries on his balance sheet. This financial reality dictates everything. For instance, you notice that while the discipline is brutal, the trainers are careful not to inflict career-ending injuries. A lash from a whip heals, but a shattered knee is a financial write-off. The Lanista would be furious if a trainer's temper permanently damaged a valuable asset. The violence is a tool, always measured, always with a purpose. This business-like approach leads to some strange paradoxes. One of the oddest, and a detail often overlooked, is the concept of gladiators being leased. Sometimes, a Lanista wouldn't sell a top gladiator to another ludus, but would lease him out for a season, complete with his own support staff of trainers and doctors. It was run just like a modern sports league, with contracts, transfers, and loan agreements. The men involved just happened to be slaves. The Lanista's relationship with his top fighters is particularly complex, a subject historians find fascinating. With a star gladiator, a Primus Palace who becomes a public sensation, the Lanista's attitude shifts. He is still the master, but he is also the manager of a celebrity. These top gladiators could earn a portion of their winnings, endorse products, the specific brand of oil or wine, and attract wealthy female admirers. The Lanista would facilitate and control all of this, taking a hefty cut. Of course, he protects his star asset, not out of affection, but because a living, winning champion is a continuous source of immense profit and prestige for his ludus. You see this in the wake when he treats the grim-faced champion of your school. He speaks to him with a tone that borders on respect. He ensures the champion has the best equipment, the best food the ludus can offer, which might just mean extra beans in his barley, and keeps him away from unnecessary risks. But for a hero like you, you are entirely on the cost side of the ledger. You are pure potential, a high-risk venture. The Lanista watches you, trying to decide if you are a future champion or just another expensive failure destined to die in your first fight. His gaze is a constant, pressing weight. You feel it when you stumble during a drill, when you take a hard blow in sparring. You know that he is mentally calculating, adjusting his expectations, and deciding whether you are worth the continued investment. You are not a person to him. You are not even a slave in the traditional sense, like a field hand or a domestic servant. You are a unique and terrible category of property, a luxury good whose primary function is to be beautifully destroyed. You are a living, breathing financial instrument, a bond that pays out its dividend in the currency of public spectacle, and your owner, the man who holds your life in his hands, is not a monster driven by pure sadism, but something far colder and more terrifying. A rational businessman in an industry of death. One afternoon during a particularly intense sparring session, You misjudge a parry. Your opponent's weighted wooden sword slams into your forearm. The pain is sharpened immediate. A sickening crunch of bone. You drop your sika, your arm hanging useless and screaming with agony. The fight stops. Your first serious injury. You expect to be kicked, berated for your clumsiness, or left to fend for yourself. Instead, something surprising happens. Marcus, the head trainer, barks in order, and two other men help you to your feet. They don't handle you gently, but there's a certain efficiency to their movements. They half drag you out of the yard and into a small, clean room you've never been in before. This is the infirmary. The room smells strongly of antiseptic herbs, vinegar, and something else. The faint, coppery scent of old blood. A man with surprisingly clean hands and a calm, intelligent face is waiting for you. He is the medicus, the doctor of the ludus. He gestures for you to sit, his eyes already assessing the damage, his touch professional and detached. The presence of highly skilled doctors in a gladiator school might seem like a contradiction. Why invest so much in healing men who are destined to be killed? The answer lies in the honest as cold, hard business logic. You are a valuable asset. A broken arm, if set improperly, could end your career before it even begins. That's a total loss on the line is there's investment. Ain on fatal wounds sustained in the arena needs to be patched up quickly and effectively, so you can fight and earn again. These doctors were not there to comfort you. They were there to repair the merchandise. The physicians attached to Ludi were often some of the most skilled surgeons of their time. The famous Greek physician Galen, whose medical theories would dominate Western medicine for over 1,000 years, spent part of his early career as a doctor at a gladiator school in Pergamum. It was an unparalleled opportunity for a surgeon to study human anatomy and treat traumatic injuries. They learned more about wound care, bone setting, and surgery from patching up gladiators than they ever could from dissecting animals or treating common illnesses. They were, in a grim sense, pioneers of trauma medicine. Your medicus works with a quiet, focused intensity. He prods your arm, his fingers finding the break. The pain makes you gasp, but you clench your jaw and endure it. Showing weakness here is not an option. He gives you a small cup of wine mixed with a bitter herb, a mild painkiller. Then, with a swift, brutal movement, he sets the bone. The sound is nauseating, and a wave of blackness threatens to overwhelm you. But you stay conscious. He then expertly wraps your arm in linen bandages, splinting it with 2 flat pieces of wood. His work is precise and efficient. This level of care is a bizarre island of logic in a sea of brutality. You are treated with a medical sophistication that a common citizen of Rome might never receive. But there is no kindness in it. As the doctor finishes his work, he gives you a cold look. You were lucky, he says. It's a clean break. Stay out of training for 2 weeks. Do the leg drills. Don't be stupid. He then turns to his notes, already dismissing you. You are a completed task, a repaired piece of equipment. Historians are still somewhat divided on the exact role of these doctors. Were they purely detached professionals, seeing gladiators as living anatomical models? Or did they, like Galen who wrote about his charges with a degree of personal interest, form some kind of human connection? The reality was likely a mixture. They were employees of Elon Estate, and their primary job was to protect his financial interests. As you walk out of the infirmary, your arm throbbing in its new cast, you understand the system on a deeper level. Every part of the ludus is designed for maximum efficiency in the production of violence. The diet fattens you for the spectacle. The training hardens you for the fight. The discipline breaks your will. And the doctors are there to salvage the assets, to put you back together so you can be broken again. Over the next 2 weeks, you are on the sidelines. You can't spar, but you run. You do squats. You practice footwork until your legs are screaming. You watch the others, studying their techniques, their mistakes. Being injured gives you a new perspective. You see the close calls, the near misses, the sheer, brutal randomness of it all. You see a veteran get a deep gash on his leg, and watch him stoically allow the medicus to stitch it up without so much as a flint, the needle pulling the skin together. This is a world where catastrophic injury is not a possibility. It's a certainty. The only question is whether the doctor can fix it. There is a strange, dark humor in it. The ludus invests a small fortune in keeping you alive and healthy, right up to the moment it sends you out to die. It's a system of radical, contradictory care. The doctor who so expertly set your bone is ensuring you will be in peak physical condition when you finally step onto the sand, ready to face an opponent whose sole purpose is to undo all of his careful work. Your arm heals, the bone knitting back together with a surprising speed thanks to the forced rest and the foul-tasting calcium drink you're made to consume daily. You return to the full training regimen, but something inside you has shifted. The injury was a stark reminder of your physical fragility. Now, a different kind of pain begins to set in, one that no medicus can stitch or set. It's the slow, grinding erosion of your mind. The psychological torture of the ludus is not a deliberate, overt strategy like the training or the diet. It's a byproduct of the environment itself, a poison that seeps into the air you breathe. It's built on a foundation of constant, low-grade fear. Every clang of a training sword, every shout of a trainer, is a reminder of the violence that defined your world and the violent end that almost certainly awaits you. You go to sleep every night with the chilling knowledge that your life has a high probability of ending in a specific, public, and brutal way. It's not a vague fear of death that all humans share. It's a specific, scheduled appointment. You don't know the exact date, but you know the venue and the manner. This knowledge gnaws at you in the quiet hours, in the moments between the drills and the meals. You see it in the eyes of the other men, too. Some try to mask it with bravado, with loud jokes and swagger. Others, like C or Ixus, retreat into a shell of stoic silence. The most insidious part of this mental anguish comes from the relationships you inevitably form. Despite Crixus's warning to not get close to anyone, it's impossible to live in such close quarters without forming some kind of connection. You share your meager food. You train together. You learn each other's habits and small tells. You develop a grudging respect for the skill of the you often spar against. You share a quiet joke with the ready Urias who bunks in the next cell. You are all links in the same chain. And a strange, bitter camaraderie grows. And that is the core of the torture. These men, your rivals, your colleagues, your de facto family, are also your potential victims. And you, theirs, one day. The Launis tape posts the pairings for an upcoming private exhibition match for a wealthy patron. Your name, VULF, is listed. Next to it, as your opponent, is the name of a young, eager Milo you've trained alongside for months. You helped him perfect a defensive move just last week. You know he has a crude drawing of a horse, meant to be the one on his family farm, scratched into the wall of his cell. Suddenly, he is no longer your fellow prisoner. He is your target. You are now expected to use your knowledge of his weaknesses against him, the way he slightly overcommits on his lunge, the way he favors his left side. The trainers will now brief you on the best way to kill him, and he will be doing the exact same thing. You avoid his gaze in the yard. The easy, if tense, relationship you had is shattered. It's replaced by a grim, professional distance. The system is designed to turn allies into adversaries, to weaponize the very human connections it begrudgingly allows to form. Historians can only speculate on the full extent of this psychological trauma. Did gladiators suffer from what we would now call post-traumatic stress disorder? It seems almost certain. The constant threat of death, the act of killing men you know, the roar of the crowd, the ever-present pain. It's a recipe for a shattered psyche. Some ancient sources describe gladiators as melancholic or prone to fits of rage, potential evidence of this deep-seated trauma. This mental burden is compounded by the dehumanization of it all. You are property. Your successes are not your own. They belong to the Launiste. Your body is not your own. It is a canvas for the spectacle. Even your name is a stage name. The crowd will cheer for VUL, F the Thracian, a character, a mess. They are not cheering for you, the displaced man from a forgotten tribe. This stripping of identity is a profound psychological violence. You start to have nightmares, not of dying, but of killing. You see the faces of the men you train with, their eyes wide with shock as your seek finds its mark. You wake up in the cold, damp cell, your heart pounding, the phantom weight of the kill lingering in your hands. CRXS is awake too, staring at the ceiling. He doesn't ask what's wrong. He knows. You learn to cope by building walls inside your own mind. You create a separation between the man who eats and sleeps in the cell and the fighter who will one day step onto the sand. The fighter cannot afford to have friends or memories. He is a machine of violence, a role you must play. The trick is to not let the role consume the man entirely. You see what happens when it does. Some men become unthinking brutes, losing all traces of their former selves. Others just break. You find them one morning, staring blankly at a wall, their spirit finally extinguished long before their body. The mental toll is a far more common killer than any sword. In the suffocating atmosphere of the ludus, where every day is a cycle of pain and fear, hope is the most dangerous and precious commodity. It's a flickering candle in a hurricane, easily extinguished, but you cling to it with a desperate strength. Without it, the will to survive would crumble into dust. This hope doesn't come from the lonist as empty promises or the abstract idea of a good death. It comes from whispers, from fragmented stories, and from the living proof of a handful of men. It's the dream of the rudis. The rudi is a simple object, a wooden sword, identical to the one you use for training. But this particular sword is not a tool for practice. It is a symbol. It is the award given to a gladiator who has survived his contract and is granted his freedom. To be awarded the rudis is the ultimate prize, the equivalent of a golden ticket out of this hell. It means you have not only survived the arena multiple times, but have fought with such skill and distinction that the editor of the games, perhaps even the emperor himself, has seen fit to release you from your oath. The stories of those who have won the rudis are the mythology of the ludus. The veterans tell them in hushed tones. They talk of Flamme, a Syrian gladiator who fought 34 times, won 21 of them, and was awarded the rudis for separate times but refused it, choosing to remain a gladiator. Was it for the fame, the money, or had he simply forgotten how to be anything else? His story is a legend. His gravestone a testament to a life that defies easy explanation. These stories are your lifeline. You imagine it, the roar of the crowd, the lonist a shocked face, the magistrate stepping forward with that simple wooden sword, the feeling of walking out of the ludus gates, not as a slave being herded to the arena, but as a free man. The thought is so powerful, so intoxicating, it's almost painful. The possibility of freedom was very real, though statistically remote, for the Octoradii, the volunteers. It was a contractual endpoint. If they survived their 3 to 5 year term, they were free to go, their debts paid. For a slave like you, it was far more difficult, relying on extraordinary success and the whim of the powerful. But it was not impossible. This is a crucial element that historians emphasize. The system had to have a release valve. A small glimmer of hope was a more effective tool for control than pure, unrelenting despair. A man with nothing to lose is unpredictable and dangerous. A man with a sliver of hope will fight, obey, and endure. You see this hope manifest in different ways. Some men become devoutly religious, scratching symbols of Nemesis, the goddess of vengeance and fortune, into the walls of their cells. They pray to her before every sparring match, begging for her favor. The cult of Nemesis was incredibly strong among gladiators. Her shrines were a common feature at every amphitheater, a place where fighters would make their vows before heading out to the sand. You also see hope in the grim pragmatism of men like Crackling. His hope isn't a beautiful dream. It's a long-term survival plan. He saves the tiny coins he sometimes earns for exceptional performance in training. He maintains his body with a religious dedication. His hope is not for a sudden, miraculous release, but for a slow, grinding accumulation of small victories that might, one day, add up to survival. But hope is a double-edged sword. For every story of a man who won his freedom, there are 100 stories of men who died in their first fight. Clinging too tightly to hope can make the daily reality of the ludus unbearable. It can make you reckless, taking foolish risks in the hopes of being noticed, only to earn a disabling injury. One day, you witness the crushing of hope firsthand. A veteran, a skilled Zakat, or who had survived for years, was promised the rudies if he won his next fight. It was to be his last. You could see the change in him in the weeks leading up to the games. A lightness in his step, a rare smile. He fought brilliantly, dominating his opponent. He had the ready Arias strap, disarmed, at his mercy. He looked to the editor for the signal, confident in his victory and his coming freedom. But the editor, for reasons no one will ever know, perhaps a lost bit, or dislike for the gladiator's style, gave the thumbs down signal. The crowd, sensing the drama, roared its approval. The Zakat or had to execute the man at his feet. But the victory was hollow. The promise was broken. He was not released. The light in his eyes died that day. He returned to the ludus a broken man, a ghost, going through the motions of training with no spirit left. He was killed in his very next fight, making a simple, clumsy mistake he would never have made before. His story becomes another cautionary tale whispered in the dark. Hope can make you strong, but it can also make you vulnerable. You learn to handle it carefully, to keep it locked in a small, protected corner of your heart. You let it out in the dead of night, a secret to sustain you, but you push it down during the day. During the day, you must focus on the immediate reality, the weight of the shield, the angle of the Sika, the movements of your opponent. To survive today is the only victory that matters. The dream of the rudies is for tomorrow, and in the world of the gladiator, tomorrow is a luxury you can never be sure you have. The seasons turn, marked not by the changing leaves, but by the frequency and grandeur of the Roman festivals. As a major festival like the Saturnalia or a triumphal celebration approaches, a palpable change sweeps through the ludus. The air, already thick with tension, becomes electric with a new, sharper form of dread. This is the high season for your deadly trade. The honesty, Quintus, is a whirlwind of activity. He is in constant meetings with editors, the wealthy magistrates or aristocrats sponsoring the upcoming games. They arrive at the ludus in their fine litters, their colorful to gaseous stark contrast to the grim functionality of your world. They are here to shop. They walk through the yard, observing the training sessions with the air of connoisseurs selecting wine. They discuss pairings with Quintus, arguing over prices and the specific gladiators they want for their show. Their presence is a stark reminder that your fate is being decided in a business negotiation. The training regimen, already brutal, intensifies to an almost unbearable degree. The trainers push you harder, longer. The sparring sessions become more aggressive. The line between practice and real combat blurring. Small injuries are ignored. Exhaustion is not an excuse. The sands will not wait for you to catch your breath. Marcus bellows, his voice hoarse from shouting all day. This intensification serves two purposes. First, it ensures you are at your absolute physical peak for the games. The Lan Iste wants his products to look impressive and perform well. A sluggish, sloppy gladiator reflects poorly on his school. Second, it's a form of psychological conditioning. Relentless pressure and exhaustion are meant to sharpen your aggression, to strip away any remaining softness and hone you into a pure, instinctual fighting machine. You are being pushed to the edge, because on the sands, the edge is where you will have to live. The fear in the ludus is no longer a dull background hum. It's a sharp, piercing shriek. You see it in the way men grip their wooden swords. Their knuckles white. You hear it in the forced, brutal laughter that sometimes breaks the silence. You taste it in the barley mush, which now seems even harder to swallow. Novices like you are particularly terrified. You have not yet faced the arena. You have only heard the stories. The veterans, while still afraid, mask it with a grim, focused professionalism. They have been through this before. They withdraw into themselves, meticulously checking their practice gear, running through drills with a monk-like concentration. The hierarchy of the ludus becomes even more pronounced. The star gladiators are sequestered, protected from the most grueling training to prevent any last-minute injuries. They are the main event, the guaranteed crowd pleasers. The mid-rankers and the novices are the ones who bear the brunt of the intensified regimen. We are the undercard. The expendable fighters used to fill out the day's bloody program. One day, the official list is posted. A large wooden board is set up in the yard, detailing the matchups for the games. Everyone gathers around it. A silent, tense crowd. You scan the list, your heart pounding in your chest, searching for your stage name, BULF, and then you see it. Your name is there, in stark, black paint, BULF. The TH or AX versus the M you are Milo named Drusus from your own ludus. The world seems to narrow to just those two names. Drusus, you know him, a quiet man from Hispalia, incredibly strong. With a wife and child he was forced to leave behind. You've seen him stare at a small, carved wooden bird he keeps, a trinket from his son. The abstract fear of the arena has just been given a face. Your death, or his, once the pairings are announced, a new phase of training begins. You are now exclusively training for your specific opponent. Your Dr. T.H. Ray briefs you and your trainers on Drusus's fighting style. They have watched him for months. They know his strengths, his powerful shield bash, his relentless forward pressure. They also know his weaknesses. He's a bit slow on his feet, and his defense on his right side is sometimes lacking. Your training is now a series of drills designed to exploit those weaknesses. You practice squat, circling footwork to stay away from his power. You drill a specific combination of feints and strike, aimed at his exposed right side. It's a cold, analytical process of deconstructing a man into a set of moves and tells, and then programming you to defeat him. Drusus, in another part of the yard, is doing the exact same thing, learning how to counter your Thracian aggression, how to trap you and nullify your curved Sika. A point of academic debate is how much information about their opponent's gladiators were actually given. Some believe the matchups were a complete surprise until the day of the games to ensure raw, spontaneous combat. However, the business logic of the ludus suggests otherwise. A Aloniste would want his gladiator to have the best possible chance of victory, or at least a good showing, and preparing him for a specific opponent makes tactical sense. The evidence of specialized training points towards a system of known, prepared for matchups. The days leading up to the games are a blur of sweat, pain, and gnawing anxiety. You no longer see Drusus as a person. You can't afford to. You must see him as the MUR Milo, the target, the obstacle. You force the image of his wooden bird out of your mind. The psychological walls you've been building have to become fortresses now. The man is gone. Only the opponent remains. The festival is coming, and with it, your first trial by fire. The entire ludus is now a pressure cooker, and the lid is about to blow. The night before the games, the atmosphere in the ludus undergoes a final, bizarre transformation. The relentless training ceases. The shouting of the trainers is replaced by an unnerving quiet. This is the night of the Sino Ibera, a free dinner or last supper. It's a tradition as morbid as it is essential to the spectacle. All the gladiators scheduled to fight the next day are taken from the ludus and put on public display. You are stripped of your rough training tunic and given a clean, simple robe. Your wounds are cleaned. Your hair is combed. The Lawniste wants his products looking their best before they are potentially destroyed. You are marched in a solemn procession to a public hall or a wealthy villa, a place chosen by the game's editor. The route is lined with people, a strange mix of gamblers, fans, and the morbidly curious. They point at you, shouting your stage name, VULF. Drusus, they are sizing you up, placing their bets for tomorrow. Women might blow kisses or shout encouragement. Men will yell out crude analyses of your physique. It's a deeply unsettling experience, being both a celebrity and a condemned man at the same time. You enter a large, well-lit dining hall. Long tables have been set up, laden with food, and not the usual barley slop. This is a feast. There are platters of roasted meats, pork, chicken, even beef, cheeses, fruits, olives, and bread that is soft and white. There are large jugs of wine, fragrant and dark. It's more luxurious food than you have seen in your entire life. This feast serves several purposes for the public. It's a promotional event. It allows them to get an up-close look at the fighters, to build excitement, anticipation for the main event. It's the ancient equivalent of a pre-fight press conference or a weigh-in. Gamblers use this opportunity to make their final assessments. Does the fighter look confident? Is he eating well? Or is he too nervous? For you, the gladiator, the meaning is more complex. On one hand, it's a final indulgence, a last taste of the pleasures of life before you face death. Some men dive in with a desperate gusto, stuffing themselves with food and drinking deeply of the wine, as if trying to cram a lifetime of sensation into a few hours. On the other hand, it's a form of psychological warfare. You are seated at the table, often across from or near the very man you are scheduled to kill or be killed by tomorrow. You see restless across the hall. He is not eating much. He just stares at his cup of wine, his face a grim mask. The forced intimacy of the event is suffocating. You are supposed to enjoy this feast while the instrument of your potential dooms, it's just a few feet away, adding to the strangeness. The public is allowed to wander among the tables. They peer at you as you eat, passing comments as if you were a statue in a gallery. He looks strong, one might say, but his eyes look fearful. Another might whisper, you are an exhibit, a piece of living art on the eve of its destruction. This practice is well documented in Roman sources, like those of the historian Tacitus, who described the morbid curiosity of the crowds at these events. They came to inspect the victims. There is a historical debate about the mood of these dinners. Were they wild, debauched parties, as some Hollywood portrayals suggest, or were they somber, quiet affairs? The truth is likely somewhere in between, varying from event to event and gladiator to gladiator. The philosopher Seneca, a staunch critic of the games, described some fighters who used the Last Supper to say their goodbyes to family if they were permitted to attend, while others simply ate in stoic silence. You pick at the food. The rich meat tastes wonderful, but your stomach is a knot of anxiety, and you can barely swallow. You drink some wine, hoping it will dull the fear, but it only seems to sharpen the surreal horror of the situation. You watch the other gladiators. The novices, like you, look pale and overwhelmed. The veterans eat methodically, with a practiced calm, conserving their energy. They have been through this ritual before. They know it's just another part of the show. You catch Crick's USSI. He is not fighting tomorrow, but he is here, part of the entourage, a celebrity guest. He gives you a slight, almost imperceptible shake of his head. Don't overdo it. Don't drink too much wine. Don't eat till you're sick. You need your wits about you tomorrow. It's the best advice you'll get all night. As the evening wears on, the whole grows louder. The spectators more drunken boisterous. But among the gladiators, a quiet pause settles. The reality of the coming day is inescapable. This feast, with all its opulence, is not a celebration of your life, but a prelude to your death. It's the final act of fattening the bull before the sacrifice. When the Launus Te finally signals that it's time to leave, a wave of relief washes over you. The performance is over. You are marched back to the ludus in the dark, the drunken shouts of the city fading behind you. You are locked in your cell for a few short hours of sleepless rest. The taste of wine and roasted pork is still on your tongue, a ghostly reminder of a world you are about to leave. One way or another, dawn breaks, not with the familiar clang of the training bell, but with a tense, purposeful silence. This is the day. There is no training, no shouting, just a quiet, methodical preparation for the journey to the arena. You are given a final, starchy meal, more barley, designed to provide slow-release energy. You for sit down. Then comes the costume. You are not just a fighter. You are a performer. Your appearance in the opening parade, the purpur, is part of the spectacle. You are taken to the armory, but not to receive your real weapons and armor yet. Instead, you are dressed in a stunning, colorful costume. It's a tunic of rich purple or crimson, embroidered with gold thread. A light, ornate cloak is fastened at your shoulder. This is the uniform of the condemned, made beautiful for their final procession. The contrast between this finery and your grim purpose is deeply unsettling. You look less like a warrior and more like a sacrificial priest. The Launus Te inspects each of you, making sure You look perfect. His investment is about to be put on public display, and the presentation must be flawless. You and the other gladiators are chained, not with the heavy, rusty iron of a slave cuffler, but with polished, almost decorative shackles. It's a reminder of your status, but packaged for entertainment. You are loaded onto large wagons, along with musicians, attendants, and men carrying banners bearing the name of the editor and images of the gods. The procession begins its slow journey through the city streets towards the amphitheater. This is the bumper. It's a grand parade, a mobile advertisement for the day's bloodshed. The streets are packed with people, a riot of noise and color. The air is filled with the sound of trumpets, flutes, and the roar of the crowd. As your wagon rumbles over the cobblestones, you are a focal point of 10,000 eyes. People cheer, wave, and throw flowers. For a fleeting, surreal moment, you feel like a hero, a triumphant general returning from a war. The adoration is intoxicating, a potent drug that momentarily numbs the fear. You see faces in the crowd, eager, excited, hungry for the show you are about to provide. They don't see a man on his way to a potential death. They see a character, a living myth, VULF the Thracian. This parade was a critical part of the game's psychology, for both the crowd and the fighters. For the audience, it built a personal connection to the gladiators. They could pick their favorites, invest their emotions and their gambling money in the man they saw. For the gladiators, it was a complex experience. The adoration could fuel a sense of pride and a desire to perform well. It could make you feel like you mattered, that your life and death had meaning in the eyes of these people. This is one of the deep paradoxes of being a gladiator. You were simultaneously a reviled slave and a celebrated superstar. Historians often point to the material evidence of this celebrity. Graffiti from Pompey praises specific gladiators by name. So Attis the Thracian makes all the girls sigh. Cress, since the net fighter, holds the hearts of the ladies. These were real men who achieved a level of fame that seems utterly at odds with their legal status as property. But as the procession continues, the initial thrill begins to curdle. The cheering starts to sound less like adoration and more like a hungry roar. The flowers at your feet seem like funeral offerings. The sheer number of people, all clamoring for the spectacle of your struggle, is overwhelming. They are not here to see you live. They are here to see you fight and potentially die for their amusement. The hero worship feels thin, a flimsy mask over a much darker reality. The amphitheater looms into view. Even from a distance, it is monstrous, a colossal mountain of stone and arches, bigger than any building you have ever seen. As you get closer, you can feel a low hum emanating from it, the collective vibration of 50,000 people packed inside, waiting. It's the sound of a sweeping giant, and you are about to be fed to it. The wagons enter the amphitheater through a large, dark gate, not the main public entrance, but a service entrance that leads directly into the bowels of the building. The moment you pass through that gate, the light of the sun and the roar of the crowd are cut off, replaced by torchlight and a labyrinth of stone corridors. The temperature drops. The air smells of damp earth, wild animals, and fear. The beautiful parade costume is stripped from you. The brief illusion of glory is over. You are back to being a piece of meat. You are herded into a waiting area, a large subterranean chamber, along with the other fighters. The procession was the fantasy. This is the reality. You are now in the belly of the beast, a gladiator waiting for the call to the sand, the place where the fantasies of the crowd would be realized in your sweat and blood. The fleeting glory of the parade is gone, replaced by the cold, hard certainty of the fight to come. You are in the Carcia, the underground waiting cells of the amphitheater. The space is a confusing maze of tunnels and chambers. A world away from the sunlit stands above. The roar of the crowd is a muffled, constant thunder that you feel in your bones more than you hear with your ears. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed men, nervous sweat, and the pungent, musky odor of the wild animals caged nearby. You can hear their growls and roars echoing through the corridors, a terrifying appetizer for the main course of human conflict. Attendants, slaves of the amphitheater, move with a practiced haste, bringing you your actual combat gear. This is the first time you will wear real armor. handle real, sharpened Sika. You've trained with the weighted wooden sword for months, and now the real thing feels unnerving light in your hand, an extension of your arm. It feels hungry. You put on the THRAX armor piece by piece, the greaves protecting your shins, the quilted padding on your sword arm, and the ornate bronze helmet with its distinctive griff and crest. When you slide the helmet over your head, your world narrows to what you can see through the grilled visor. Your breathing sounds loud in the enclosed space. The helmet feels both claustrophobic and strangely protective. A mask to hide behind. You are no longer yourself. You are now fully the character you were trained to be. BULF. The Lawnestay is there, moving between his fighters, giving last-minute instructions. His words are not of encouragement, but of cold, practical advice. Remember his weak side. BULF. Don't let him bully you with the shield. Stay light on your feet. HES, a coach sending his team onto the field. His final words focused on securing the win. Or, at least, a profitable performance. Then, a hush falls over your waiting area. A horn blast echoes from above. It's time. The gladiators who are part of the opening ceremony line up. You are in that line, near Drossus, your opponent. You don't look at him. You both stare straight ahead, your knuckles white where you grip your weapons. You march out of the darkness of the tunnel and into the blinding light of the arena. The transition is shocking. The sheer scale of the place hits you like a physical blow. You've trained in the ludus yard, a small, contained space. This is a vast oval of sun-scorched sand, surrounded by a towering, vertical wall of humanity, 50,000 faces, a sea of white to gas and colorful tunics, all looking down at you. The noise is a physical force, a deafening wave of sound that washes over you, so loud it's almost silence. You can't distinguish individual voices, just a single, colossal roar. You and the other gladiators march in formation around the edge of the arena, a final parade for the spectators inside. You pass the grand imperial box, where the emperor or the presiding magistrate sits, surrounded by senators and aristocrats. This is the moment for the famous, traditional salute. You all raise your right arms and, in a single, rehearsed voice, you shout the legendary phrase, Laude, Imperator, more terrier ti salute and, Hail, Emperor, we who are about to die salute you. The line is iconic, known to everyone. But here's a fascinating point of historical contention. Did every gladiator say this before every fight? The answer, according to most historians, is probably no. The phrase is only recorded once, by the historian Suetonius, in reference to a specific, massive mock naval battle staged by the Emperor Claudius. The participants were not professional gladiators, but condemned criminals and prisoners of war, and their salute may have been a desperate, sarcastic plea for their lives. It didn't work. It likely was the standard, day-to-day gladiator greeting. But the phrase was so dramatic, so perfectly emblematic of the gladiator's plight, that it has been adopted by history and fiction as the universal salute. Whether you actually said it or not, the sentiment hangs heavy in the air. You are here to die for their entertainment. After the salute, you are marched back towards the gates. The opening acts are about to begin. You will wait in the tunnels while the crowd is warmed up. The tension in the waiting area is now almost unbearable. You can hear the crowd's reactions to the events on the sand, the roars of excitement, the gasps of shock, the sudden silences. You are a performer waiting in the wings, listening to the play unfold, knowing your scene is coming soon. You lean against the cool stone wall, trying to control your breathing, to quiet the frantic beating of your heart. You run through your training in your mind, the moves your doctor taught you, the plan to defeat Drossus. You try to focus, to push down the overwhelming sensory overload of the amphitheater. The sheer size of the Colosseum, or any Roman amphitheater, was a tool of intimidation in itself. It was designed to make the individual feel small, insignificant, a tiny cog in the vast machine of Roman power and spectacle. A young novice nearby is being sick, retching his breakfast onto the dusty floor. No one pays him any mind. Everyone is lost in their own private bubble of fear. You grip the handle of your Sika, the cold metal, a solid, real thing in a world that has become a surreal nightmare. The grand salute is over. The pleasantries are done. Now, all that is left is the waiting. And the blood. The wait in the tunnels is a unique form of torture. You are a prisoner in the dock, forced to listen to the soundtrack of the horrors unfolding in the light. The games, the Mon Air, are an all-day affair, a carefully structured program of escalating violence, and you are part of the main attraction, scheduled for later in the day. First come the opening acts, designed to whet the crowd's appetite for blood. The day begins with the Venetianess, the wild beast hunts. You hear the creak of winches and the grinding of heavy gates being lifted. These are the elevators and trapdoors that release animals from their subterranean cages directly onto the arena floor. The roar of a lion, terrifyingly close, echoes through the corridor, followed by the high-pitched trumpeting of an enraged elephant. The crowd bellows with excitement. You can only imagine the scene on the sand above. Exotic animals from the farthest corners of the empire, lions from Africa, bears from Scotland, tigers from the east, pitted against each other or against specially trained hunters called bestiarii. These hunters were a different class from gladiators, often seen as less prestigious, but their work was no less deadly. The Venetian S were a display of the empire's power, a demonstration that Rome could capture and control the wildest, most ferocious beasts from any land it chose. Sometimes, for a bit of bizarre, dark comedy, animals were trained to perform tricks or were dressed up as figures from mythology before being killed. A strange little detail from the records of the games is that these animal shows could be incredibly elaborate, sometimes involving entire landscapes being created on the arena floor. This wasn't just mindless slaughter, it was theatrical slaughter. After the morning's beast hunts comes the midday lull, the Maradini. Many of the wealthier spectators might leave for lunch at this point, but the stands remain filled with those who have a stronger stomach. Because midday is the time for public executions, the tone of the crowd's roar changes. It's less a cheer of excitement and more of a jeering, bloodthirsty howl. You hear screams, not the roars of animals, but the chillingly human cries of the condemned. These are the no-xii, the criminals sentenced to death. They are not fighters. They have no weapons, no armor, no training. Their death is the spectacle. Their executions are often staged in cruel, theatrical ways. Some are thrown to the wild animals left over from the morning hunts. An event called Dam Adio at best, i.e. usually remains desperate shrieks cut short by the deep, guttural snarl of a big cat. Other criminals are forced to reenact scenes from mythology, always ending in a gruesome death. A man might be dressed as Icarus and thrown from a height, or another dressed as Hercules and burned alive on a pyre. The most straightforward, and perhaps most chilling, is when condemned prisoners are simply forced to kill each other. One is given a sword, the other is not. The survivor is then given to the next unarmed prisoner, and so on, until only one man is left standing, who, in turn, is executed by a professional soldier. The philosopher Seneca wrote about this with disgust. In the morning, men are thrown to lions and bears. At midday, they are thrown to their spectators. The crowd demands that the slayer be thrown to another to be slain, and they keep the victor for another slaughter. Listening to this from the tunnels is a profoundly unsettling experience. This is the entertainment your own fight is a part of. The people you are about to perform for have just spent their lunch break watching unarmed men being torn apart. It strips away any illusion of honor or glory in what you are about to do. This is not a noble contest of warriors. It is the bloody centerpiece of a day dedicated to death in all its forms. The psychological impact on you is immense. It normalizes the horror. By the time your own fight comes, you have been marinating for hours in the sounds of death. It hardens you, numbs you, but it also fills you with a desperate, primal fear. You are not an unarmed criminal, but the line between you and them feels terrifyingly thin. Your death, should it come, will be met with the same cheers. Finally, the sounds of the executions die down. Attendants come through the tunnels, swabbing away the blood and viscera from the sand, preparing the arena for the main event. The gladiatorial combats, the preliminary shows are over. The crowd is primed. Their appetite for violence has been stimulated. and now they are ready for the skilled combat they paid to see. A horn sounds, a different, clearer note than the ones before. It's the signal. The gladiators are to assemble. Your time in the waiting room of hell is over. You take a deep, ragged breath, tighten your grip on your sika, and get to your feet. The warm-up act is finished. You are on. The moment the gate groans open, it's like being born into a nightmare. You step from the cool, torch-lit darkness of the tunnel onto the sand, and the world explodes in light and sound. The afternoon sun is a physical weight, reflecting off the pales and with a blinding intensity. After hours in the dim corridors, your eyes struggle to adjust, and for a few precious seconds, the roaring crowd is just a blurry, shifting wall of color. Then, your senses catch up, and the full, overwhelming reality of the arena crashes down on you. The heat rises from the sand in shimmery waves, baking the air you breathe. The roar of 50,000 people is a tangible pressure against your eardrums, a visceral, primal sound that vibrates through the soles of your sandals and up into your chest. It's the sound of a hungry god, and you are the offering. You can now see the faces in the first few rows. Eager, excited, impatient. They are leaning forward, their eyes fixed on you and your opponent, Drusus, who emerges from a gate on the opposite side of the arena. For a moment, you see him not as a Murmillo, but as the man you know from the ludus, the quiet Spaniard. He looks as stunned and overwhelmed as you feel. Your eyes meet for a fleeting second across the expanse of sand, a shared moment of pure, unadulterated terror. Then, the training kicks in. The mask of the gladiator slams down. He is no longer Drusus. He is the enemy, an official, the Summa Rudis, who acts as the primary referee, stands in the center of the arena. He is flanked by his assistants, who carry long staffs to separate fighters if needed. The Summa Rudis raises a hand, and a sliver of quiet falls over the crowd. A herald's voice, amplified by the arena's acoustics, booms across the sand, announcing your names in tights. VULF, the THRAX, versus Drusus, the Murmillo. The crowd roars its approval. They love this classic matchup. You and Drusus are beckoned forward. The referee recites the rules, though you can barely hear him over the pounding in your ears. No passivity. You must engage, fight to win. His words are a formality. The real rules are unwritten, dictated by the crowd and the man with the sickest ending opposite you. You are allowed a moment to salute the editor of the games in his box. You raise your weapon, a gesture of respect and a promise of the violence to come. Then, the referee steps back. It's just you and Drusus, alone in this vast, sandy circle of death. There is no countdown, no bell. The fight starts when the referee drops his hand. You begin to circle each other. Your small Thracian, shield held high, your curved Sika ready. Drusus does the same. His massive Murmillo shield providing a wall of protection. His gladius held low and ready to thrust. The dance begins. The sheer openness of the arena is disorienting. There are no walls to back into, no corners to trap an opponent, except for the single, continuous wall of the arena itself. The sand shifts under your feet, a fine, deep layer designed to soak up blood and provide a soft landing for falls. It also makes quick footwork difficult. You feel clumsy, your movements sluggish. This initial phase is a probing, a testing of nerves. You feint a lunge. He parries with his shield. He takes a heavy step forward. You dance back, just out of reach. The crowd is starting to get restless. They want action. You hear jeers and shouts. Get on with it. Are you going to dance all day? The pressure from the crowd is immense. You know that a boring fight can be as bad as a loss. The editor wants a good show. A passive gladiator might be spurred on with whips, or even hot irons by the assistants. There is no escape. You have to fight. So, you commit. You launch your first real attack, a quick series of strikes aimed at the edge of his shield, trying to use your sick as curve to hook around it. The clang of your blade against his bronze-rimmed shield is a sharp, percussive sound that seems to echo in the vast space. He absorbs the blows easily, his stance solid as a rock. He shows back with his shield, a brutal, powerful move that sends you stumbling backward. The crowd roars. First point to the Murmillo. The sun beats down on your bronze helmet, which quickly becomes an oven. Sweat streams into your eyes, stinging and blurring your vision. Your mouth is dry as dust. The physical exertion, amplified by sheer terror, is draining your energy at an alarming rate. All the months of training, all the burly mush, all the drills against the palace, it all comes down to this. Can you survive the next few minutes? The gate is open. The dance has begun. And now, the only way out is through violence. Fascinating. Little known detail is the role of music during the fights. The action was often accompanied by musicians playing trumpets, horns, and a water organ. The music would swell with the action, building tension, signaling a dramatic moment, much like a modern movie score. Your life and death struggle is set to a soundtrack, all part of crafting the perfect entertainment experience. You are not just a fighter. You are the star of a live-action horror film, and the audience is waiting for the climax. The fight settles into a brutal rhythm of attack and defense, a deadly dance choreographed by months of training unfueled by raw adrenaline. This is not the chaotic, wild-swinging you see in movies. It is a controlled, tactical, and deeply personal form of violence. Every move is a calculation. Every step a risk. Dross expresses his advantage. He is a classic M.U.R. Miller, a walking fortress. He advances relentlessly, using his large shield not just for defense, but as a weapon, trying to knock you off balance, to corner you. His gladiator starts out from behind the shield, aiming for quick, efficient thrusts at your legs and torso. You are forced onto the back foot, your Frisian style demanding constant movement to survive. You circle, jab, and retreat, using your lighter shield to deflect his blows, the impacts jarring your arm each time. The crowd roars with every exchange. They are connoisseurs of violence, and they appreciate the technical skill on display. They shout advice, critiques, and encouragement. HES open on the right. THRAX. Press him. MUR Milo. Press him. You are in a bubble of concentration, but their voices seep through. A constant pressure to perform, to escalate. You know you cannot win a war of attrition. Against his superior defense, you have to be faster, smarter. You have to make him make a mistake. You feint high with your seeker, drawing his shield up to block. As he does, you drop low and lunge, not with your sword, but with your shield, slamming its flat edge into his knee. It's a dirty trick. One Marcus drilled into you for weeks. Drussus grunts in pain and stumbles, his shield wall wavering for just a second. That's the opening you need. You bring your seeker around in a vicious, hooking arc, aiming for the back of his exposed thigh. The blade bites deep. You feel the resistance of muscle and then a sickening release as you pull the weapon free. A massive roar erupts from the crowd. It's the loudest sound you ever heard. Blood, dark and shockingly red against the pale sand, wells from the wound under us, says Slate. The fight has changed. First blood is a critical moment. It energizes the crowd and shifts the psychological balance of the fight. Drussus bellows, a sound of fury and pain, and comes at you with a new ferocity. The tactical probing is over. Now it's a brawl. He ignores the blood streaming down his leg and swings his gladius with heavy, powerful blows. HES trying to overwhelm you, to end it quickly before the wound saps his strength. One of his blows gets past your shield and scrapes along your ribs. It's a shallow cut, but the pain is white-hot and immediate. Now, you are both wounded. The sand around you is stained with crimson patches. The referee, the Silmarudis, watches closely. He and his assistants are a crucial part of the fight. This is a point that is oft unmissed. Gladiatorial combat was not lawless. There were rules, and they were enforced. A fighter who was disarmed might be given a chance to recover his weapon. If two fighters were locked in a stalemate, the assistants would separate them. This is a topic of some debate among historians. How much did the referees interfere? Some believe they were there to ensure a fair fight, while others argue their main job was to prolong the combat for the crowd's enjoyment, preventing a quick or anticlimactic ending. You are both breathing heavily now, your initial burst of adrenaline giving way to a deep, profound exhaustion. Your lungs burn, your muscles scream, your arm feels like it's made of lead. Drusus is limping badly, his left leg slick with blood. He is leaning heavily on his shield. The end is near. You see your chance. He lunges. A desperate, clumsy move. You sidestep, and as he stumbles past, you drive the pommel of your Sika into the back of his knee. His wounded leg gives way completely, and he crashes face down onto the sand. His shield flies from his grasp. His gladius is pinned beneath him. He is disarmed and helpless. Silence. For a heartbeat. The entire amphitheater is utterly, unnervingly silent. You stand over him, your Sika raised, your chest heaving. Drusus pushes himself up onto his elbows, his helmet askew. He looks not at you, but at the editor's box. He knows what comes next. He has lost. The dance is over, and his life is no longer in his own hands. You stand over your defeated opponent, the point of your Sika hovering just above his neck. The silence in the amphitheater is a heavy blanket, a collective intake of breath from 50,000 people. This is a moment of ultimate drama, the pivot upon which the entire spectacle turns. Drusus lies on the sand, wounded and disarmed. He has been fairly beaten. Now, his fate will be decided by a simple, brutal referendum. Drusus knows the protocol. He lifts his left hand and raises a single finger, the index finger. This is the ad digitum, the appeal for mercy. It is a formal admission of defeat and a plea for his life to be spared. He is placing himself entirely at the mercy of the game's editor, whose decision will be heavily influenced by the will of the crowd. The editor, a wealthy senator in a pristine white toga, does not make his decision immediately. He waits, letting the tension build. He turns his head, scanning the stands, gauging the mood of the people. This is the heart of the matter. The power to grant life or death is the ultimate display of authority, but it is a power that must be exercised with the people's consent. A wildly unpopular decision could damage the editor's reputation. Now, the crowd finds its voice. A low murmur swells into a roar of conflicting opinions. This is the moment of the polus verso, the turned thumb, one of the most famous and misunderstood gestures in history. For centuries, popular culture has told us that thumbs up meant life and thumbs down meant death. However, most historians now believe this is incorrect. The academic consensus is shifting. Many scholars argue that the signal for death was actually a thumb pointed up, mimicking the act of drawing a sword to deliver the final blow. The signal for mercy, missio, was a closed fist with the thumb pressed down inside it, polus presso, symbolizing a sheathed weapon. Others suggest the thumb was perhaps jabbed towards the throat for death. The exact gesture remains a hot topic of debate, a detail lost to the ambiguity of ancient texts endure. But whatever the specific motion, its meaning is about to be made terrifyingly clear. You look out at the crowd, at the thousands of hands. You see some with closed fists, shouting "Mit, let him go." You see others with thumbs gesturing emphatically, shouting "Ayugula, sway him." They are judging Drusus, assess performance. Did he fight bravely? Did he provide a good show? Did they win or lose a bet on him? His life is being weighed on a scale of entertainment value. You look at Drusus. He has pushed himself to a kneeling position, his head bowed. He is not looking at the crowd. He is looking at the sand, waiting. There is a strange dignity in his posture, an acceptance of the rules of this world. The editor has seen enough. He has felt the pulse of the mob. He slowly rises to his feet, letting the moment hang in the air. He raises his hand. The crowd falls silent again. All eyes on you. He makes the gesture. It's the signal for death. A roar of approval, or perhaps just bloodlust, erupts from the stands. The decision has been made. Drusus' appeal for mercy has been denied. For you, this is not a victory. It is a command. You are now the instrument of the crowd's will, the executioner. Your mind reels. Hail Drusus, the man who sleeps 3 cells down from you, the man with the carved wooden bird, the training, the dehumanization, the psychological conditioning. It was all for this exact moment, to enable you to do this without hesitation. But you do hesitate, for a fraction of a second. The man VULF looks at the man Drusus, and the horror of it all is a physical sickness in your stomach. You feel a sharp rap on your leg. It's the referee's assistant, prodding you with his staff. Finish it, he hisses. The crowd is getting impatient. They want the climax they were promised. Delaying now would be seen as insubordination, a defiance of the editor, the crowd, and the very rules of the game. Such an act could have you condemned yourself. You have no choice. Your fate is as bound to this moment as his is. You take a deep breath, push aside the ghost of the man you knew, and see only the defeated M. You are mellow. You are the THRAX. This is your duty. This is your survival. You tighten your grip on your Sika, its purpose now chillingly clear. The crowd has spoken, and in the arena, the crowd is gone. The command has been given. The crowd's roar is a mandate. You are to kill Drusus. But even this final, brutal act is governed by a strict and terrible etiquette. A gladiator's death, like his life, was not his own. It was a performance, and it had to be done correctly. Drusus knows what is expected of him. He doesn't beg or cry out. He doesn't try to crawl away. To do so would be to die a bad death, to show fear and cowardice, which the Romans despised. It would disgrace himself and disappoint the audience. Instead, he prepares to die a good death, a death of stoic acceptance. He remains kneeling on the sand, his back straight. He lets his head hang forward, exposing the back of his neck. It is a posture of submission, an offering. He is making himself a clear and unloving target for you. He is, in his final moments, helping you to kill him cleanly, undeficiently, as the spectacle demands. This ideal of the good death was deeply ingrained in Roman culture, influenced by Stoic philosophy. To face one's end without flinching, with courage and dignity, was seen as the ultimate test of character. Gladiators, despite being slaves at the bottom of the social ladder, were paradoxically held up as exemplars of this virtue. The public admired their ability to face death with a calm resolve that many a philosopher only wrote about. You step forward, your Sika held tight in your hand. The curved blade, designed for hooking and slashing, is not the ideal weapon for a clean, killing blow. A straight thrust to the heart is the preferred method, often delivered under the collarbone. As a THRAX, you might be expected to deliver the blow to the neck or the exposed throat. You place your left hand on the top of his helmet, studying his head. This is a gesture of grim intimacy, a final, terrible connection between you. For a moment, you can feel the warmth of his body, the slight tremor running through it. He is not a monster, not an enemy. He is a man, terrified but resolute, and you are about to end his life. The historical accuracy of this final moment is debated. Some artistic depictions show the victor placing a foot on the loser's back. Others, like the famous Seal Item mosaic, show the victor holding the loser's helmet, just as you are doing now. It was likely a practical matter, ensuring the victim didn't move at the last second and spoil the clean execution. You look past him, towards the editor's box, a silent confirmation of your orders. You must be seen to be following the command. Then you look back down. You have two choices for the final blow. You can drive the point of the Sika into the base of his skull, severing the spinal cord for a quick death, or you can thrust it into his heart, a more classic and perhaps more honorable end. You choose the heart. You raise your Sika. The entire world shrinks to the space between you and him. The roar of the crowd fades to a distant buzz. You see the crude scratches on his armor, the dried sweat on his skin. You think of the wooden bird. You push the thought away. You thrust the blade downwards, putting your weight behind it. The steel plunges into his back, just below the shoulder blade, seeking the heart. You feel a horrible, soft resistance. Then the blade sinks to the hilt. Drusus's body goes rigid for a moment. The final, convulsive arch of his back. A muffled gasp escapes his lips. Then, all the tension leaves him, and he slumps forward, his full weight collapsing onto the sand. It is over. You pull your Sika free. The crowd erupts. It is a sound unlike any other, a titanic, cathartic release of tension. They are cheering for you, the victor, but they are also cheering for the death they just witnessed. You stand there, panting, blood dripping from your sword, your body screaming with pain and exhaustion, your mind a hollow cavern of shut. Two figures dressed as Charon, the mythical ferrymen of the underworld, walk onto the sand. They carry hammers. They approach Drusus's body and In a grim ritual, one of them lightly taps him on the head. It's a symbolic act to confirm he is truly dead. Another attendant, dressed as Mercury, touches him with a hot iron rod for the same purpose. His body is then loaded onto a stretcher and dragged unceremoniously out of the arena through the portal Debit Inensis, the gate of death. You have won. You have survived. You have killed a man you knew. For the entertainment of strangers, you raise your arm to the crowd, a gesture of victory. But as you stand there, bathed in their adoration, you have never felt more alone. The roar of the crowd washes over you, but it sounds distant, distorted. You are the victor. You are the survivor. But as you stand on the blood-soaked sand, the adrenaline begins to fade, and a chilling cocktail of exhaustion, shock, and a deep, aching void takes its place. The cut on your ribs, which you barely felt in the heat of combat, now burns with a fiery intensity. You are awarded the victor's palm branch, a symbol of your success, and a purse of coins. The amount is a pittance compared to what the Laniste will earn from your victory. But for you, it is a small fortune. You clutch it in your bloody hand as you are led from the arena, back into the dim, cool corridors beneath the stands. You don't go back the way you came. You are a different man now. You have been initiated. You have killed. You are no longer a hero. Back in the subterranean chambers, the atmosphere is starkly different from the pre-fight tension. There is the grim relief of the other survivors, the quiet sorrow for the fallen. You are taken immediately to the infirmary, where the medicus is waiting. His workspace is now a butcher's shop of human repair. Other wounded gladiators are already there, being stitched, bandaged, and splintered. The doctor looks at your rib wound with a practiced, impersonal eye. He cleans it with vinegar, the sting making you hiss in pain. Then, with a needle and thread, he begins to stitch the gash closed. His movements are quick and precise. He has done this 1,000 times. As he works, he talks, his voice a low monotone. A shallow cut. Lucky. Another inch deeper and it would have punctured a lung. HES not trying to comfort you. He's giving a professional assessment of the damage to his master's property. Being patched up is a bizarre, disembodying experience. The same system that sent you out to be maimed and killed now invests its considerable skill in putting you back together. The doctor who sews your skin is a key part of the economic machinery of the games. Every fighter he saves, every wound he heals, is another potential payday for the Laniste. This is why some gladiators survived for years, fighting dozens of battles. The medical science was good enough to keep them functional. To repair them for the next round of destruction, you sit there, listening to the groans of the other wounded men, the clink of medical instruments, the smell of blood and antiseptic herbs. The image of Drusus's falling body is burned into your mind. You will carry that image forever. The coins in your hand feel heavy, like stones. Is this what his life was worth? Once the doctor is finished, you are taken back to the ludus. The return journey is nothing like the Grand Pampa in the morning. There are no crowds, no cheers, just a quiet, somber procession of the wounded and the weary. When you walk back through the gates of the ludus, you are met with a strange mix of reactions. The trainers nod in grim approval. You have proven yourself. You have earned your keep. You are now a real asset. Your cellmate, CRX's, is there when you return to your cell. He looks at you, then at the fresh stitches on your ribs, then at the victor's palm branch you still carry. He doesn't offer congratulations. He simply says, the first one is the hardest. He knows the ghosts you brought back with you from the arena. That night, you can't sleep. Every time you close your eyes, you see the fight. You feel the jolt as your Sika sinks into Drusus's back. You hear the roar of the crowd. You are a survivor, but you don't feel triumphant. You feel hollowed out, as if a part of you died on the sand along with Drusus. This is the ongoing trauma of the survivor. The physical wounds will heal. The medicus will see to that. But the mental wounds will fester. You must now live with what you have done, and you must prepare to do it again. Your victory today doesn't mean you are safe. It just means you have earned the right to face the same terror on another day. Your value to the Laniste has increased, which means he will be eager to put you on display again. There's a morbid and debated topic among scholars. Did gladiators become addicted to the fight, to the adrenaline, the roar of the crowd, the stark, simple reality of kill or be killed? Some ancient accounts might suggest this, hinting at men who couldn't adapt to life outside the arena even when freed. Perhaps for some, the only place they felt truly alive was in the moments they were closest to death. For you, however, there is no such feeling. There is only the grim reality of survival. You have stepped over one body to prolong your own life. You look across the cell at CRX's, a man who has lived this reality for 5 years. You now understand the deep, weary sadness in his eyes. He is not just a survivor. He is a collector of ghosts. And tonight, you have collected your first. Years pass. The memory of your first fight, the killing of Drusus, never leaves you, but it becomes part of a larger tapestry of scars, both visible and invisible. You are no longer VULF the hero. You are VULF the veteran. You have fought in arenas all over the empire, from the sun-baked amphitheaters of Hispania to the Grand Colosseum in Rome itself. You have fought a dozen times. You have won most, survived all. You have become what CRX's was when you first arrived, a quiet, efficient, and deeply weary survivor. You are now a Primus Palace, the top-ranked gladiator in your ludus. Novices watch you with the same mixture of awe and fear that you once had for the veterans. You have a slightly larger cell, bitter rations, and the grudging respect of the Launiste, who has grown rich from your victories. You have become his most valuable asset. But the fear never truly goes away. It just changes its shape. It's no longer the sharp, panic terror of the novice. It's a cold, hard knot in your stomach, a constant companion. With every fight you survive, the odds seem to stack against you for the next one. Your luck has to run out eventually. You've seen it happen to so many others, skilled fighters, better than you, cut down by a moment of carelessness, a patch of slippery sand, or just bad luck. Then, one day, something extraordinary happens. You are fighting in the Colosseum, the heart of the empire, before the emperor himself. It's a massive spectacle. Your opponent is a famous MU Armillo from a rival school, a man with a fearsome reputation. The fight is long and brutal, a masterclass of technique from both of you. You are both wounded, exhausted, fighting on pure instinct. In the end, you manage to disarm him. He is at your mercy. He raises his finger, appealing for his life. The crowd is divided. He fought with incredible bravery. The emperor, a man who appreciates good sport, watches intently from the imperial box. He confers with his advisors, then raises his hand. He gives the signal for Missio. Mercy. Your opponent's life is spared. The crowd roars its approval of the emperor's magnanimity. But then, the emperor does something else. He beckons you forward. You approach the imperial box, your heart pounding. You kneel in the sand, your head bowed. The emperor speaks, his voice carrying across the silent arena. He praises your skill, your courage, your long and distinguished career. And then, he gives the ultimate command. An attendant approaches, carrying not a palm of victory, nor a purse of coins, but a simple wooden sword. Rudis, he presents it to you. The crowd understands what this means. A wave of murmurs and then a thunderous cheer sweeps the Colosseum. You have been granted your freedom. Your oath is dissolved. Your life is your own again. You take the wooden sword in your hand. It feels impossibly light. This simple object is the dream of every gladiator, the myth made real. It is the symbol of an impossible victory, not just over one opponent, but over the entire system. Winning the Rudis was the pinnacle of a gladiator's career. But what happened next is a source of much historical speculation. What did a freed gladiator do? Their faces were famous, but their past was infamous. They were no longer slaves, but they were still in flames, marked by the social stigma of their profession. Some, like the legendary Flamme, apparently refused freedom and continued to fight. Why? Perhaps the prize, money and fame were too addictive. Or perhaps the world of the ludus was the only one they knew how to navigate. The outside world, with its complex rules and social codes, could be more terrifying than the arena. Other freed gladiators tried to capitalize on their fame. Some became trainers, doctores, and ludi, selling their expertise back to the system that had enslaved them. It was a logical career path, one of the few open to it. A very successful few might have even started their own ludus. A grim irony of the enslaved becoming the enslaver. Others became bodyguards for wealthy politicians or merchants. Their combat skills, still a valuable commodity. As you stand there, the rudies in your hand, these are your choices. The honesty, for the first time, looks at you not as property, but as a potential business partner or rival. He has lost his greatest asset, but he cannot object to the emperor's decree. You walk out of the arena, not through the gate of the dead or the gate of the living contestants, but through the main entrance, a free man. The world outside the amphitheater seems impossibly bright, loud, and confusing. For years, your entire existence has been the regimented brutality of the ludus. You had a purpose, to train, to fight, to survive. Now, for the first time since you were captured all those years ago, you have no one telling you what to do. You see a group of boys playing in the street. They are pretending to be gladiators, hitting each other with sticks. They are pretending to be you. The irony is a sharp, painful twist in your gut. You clutch the rudies in your hand. It is your freedom, but it is also a permanent reminder of the price you paid for it. The ghosts of Drusus and all the others you fought are your constant companions. You have escaped the arena, but you know you will never truly leave it behind. Freedom is not the sweet, simple relief you had imagined in the darkest hours of your cell. It is a vast, terrifying silence. You find a room in a cheap inn in the city's sub-URA district. A noisy, chaotic slum teeming with life. But after the structured brutality of the ludus, the unstructured chaos of freedom is disorienting. You have your prize money, a considerable sum that should last you a while if you are careful. But you are a man adrift. Your body is a roadmap of scars that mark you as a former gladiator. When people on the street recognize you, and many do, they look at you with a mixture of awe, fear, and contempt. You are VULFTHRAX, a living legend, but you are also a former slave, a killer, a piece of entertainment who has outlived his purpose. You're a man outside of society's neat categories. You spend your days walking the city, a ghost at the feast of life. You see families, merchants haggling, politicians debating in the forum. It's a world you fought for the right to rejoin, but you no longer know the language. Your instincts are all wrong. You are conditioned to see threats, opponents, and escape routes. You stand to close the walls, your eyes constantly scanning the crowd. You wake in the middle of the night, your heart pounding, reaching for a seeker that isn't there. The lawn is T. Quintus sends a messenger. He offers you a position. Dr. T.H. Raycom, a trainer in his ludus. The pay is good. It's a respectable position for a man like you. He is offering you a way back into the only world you truly understand. The temptation is immense. It's a promise of structure, of purpose. You think of the fresh-faced novices, the boys who arrive, just as you did, broken, terrified, and full of a life that is about to be systematically stripped from them. You would be the one to do the stripping. You would teach them how to kill, how to die. You would be another cog in the machine that chewed you up and spat you out. You would be Marcus, the one-eyed trainer who first put a wooden sword in your hand. You would be C.R. Ixos, the weary veteran explaining the rules of survival. You decline the offer. What? Then? Become a bodyguard. Sell your sword to the highest bidder. The thought of more violence, more killing, is a poison in your gut. You have had enough of that to last 10 lifetimes. You find yourself drawn back to the Colosseum. You don't go inside. You just stand in its massive shadow, listening to the muffled roar of the crowd during the games. You can close your eyes and know exactly what is happening on the sand. The beast hunts, the executions, the clash of steel. You can smell the blood and the dust on the wind. The arena is a scar on the city, a monument to a beautiful and terrible cruelty. It's a place that took everything from you and, in a strange, twisted way, gave you everything you now have. It gave you your fame, your money, your freedom, but it also filled you with ghosts. You think of all the men who didn't get a Rudy's, the thousands of men like Drusus, whose names are forgotten, whose bodies were dragged through the gate of death. Their only legacy is the fleeting thrill they provided to a crowd. Their entire existence, their hopes, their fears, the families they left behind, was reduced to a few minutes of bloody entertainment. The academic debate over the gladiators' role in Roman society continues to this day. Were they tragic slave heroes? Or were they brutal killers, the willing participants in a death cult? Were they victims or celebrities? The answer is that they were all of these things at once. They were a living paradox, embodying Rome's highest ideals of courage and its lowest appetites for cruelty. As the sun sets, casting long shadows from the arches of the Colosseum, you make a decision. You will not be a trainer. You will not be a bodyguard. You will leave Rome. You will take your money and your ghosts, and you will walk away. Perhaps you will find a small plot of land somewhere, far from the roar of any arena. Perhaps you will try to build a life where the only thing you have to kill is the memory of the man you were forced to become. You turn your back on the great amphitheater. You hold the wooden rudies in your hand, its surface worn smooth. It is not just a symbol of your freedom. It is a reminder of the price of that freedom, a price paid in the blood of others. You are a ghost of the arena, and now you must learn to live in the light. The path ahead is uncertain, a quiet road stretching into the twilight. The roar of the Colosseum fades behind you, replaced by the gentle hum of the evening, the chirping of crickets and the tall grass lining the Appian Way. Each step you take feels both heavy and light, heavy with the weight of the men you fought, the man you kill, light with a freedom so profound it feels like floating. You are no longer V, UL, F the THRAX, a character in a bloody play. You are just a man, walking under a vast, star-dusted sky. The air grows cooler, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth, washing away the city's stale breath. You imagine a place where the ground is not stained with blood and sand, but is dark and fertile, a place where things might grow. Your past is a ghost that will always walk beside you, its shadowy form a constant companion on your journey. But for the first time in so many years, you are the one choosing the direction. Your future is not a scheduled fight, but an open field, and as you walk deeper into the quiet country night, the rhythm of your own footsteps is the only sound that matters. You are tired, so very tired, but it is the weariness of a long journey ended, not the dread of a battle yet to come. Sleep, when it finally finds you on a soft patch of grass beneath the olive trees, is not filled with the clash of swords or the screams of the crowd. It is, for the first time, a quiet, empty peace. You are finally, truly, at rest.